Welcome back to another episode. The San Francisco Giants have their co-ace and have signed left-handed pitcher Blake Snell to a 2-year, $62 million contract with an opt-out after the 2024 season. Blake Snell is 31 years old and is a two-time Cy Young Award winner in 2018 as well as this past season in 2023. On this deal, we're going to go over kind of the things about Blake Snell that are really good. There's some things that are a little bad / concerning, and talk about kind of him as a player, how he fits, where this leaves the Giants both right now and going forward. So to start off, the good with Blake Snell. Uh, Things that I really like about Blake Snell. I mean, number one, his highs and when he is at his best, he is clearly one of the best pitchers in baseball. And he gives the Giants a legit co-ace to go with Logan Webb, where you're going to feel pretty good about the Giants in any short series against any team in baseball. You'll at least feel like they have a chance because anytime you toss those two guys out there, you feel pretty good about it. And even with a guy like Kyle Harrison behind them, who, if he's as good as everybody hopes he is, now you're looking at three guys. And then that doesn't even factor in guys like Robbie Ray, who is also a former Cy Young winner in his right, coming back, although I don't have high expectations of him. This pitching staff, especially in the second half, can be just really dominant with those four, and then Cobb, and that doesn't even factor in where Jordan Hicks might fall in this whole thing. So a lot to unpack there and a lot to like with those guys, with adding Blake Snell to this rotation. So a lot of the good though, he's a high strikeout guy, one of the best in Major League Baseball, has struck out over 30% of the batters he's faced in the last 6 seasons. So he is elite at getting guys out. He has some of the best stuff in Major League Baseball, has a fastball that he throws about half the time that's average is out at about 95 miles an hour. Have seen it as fast as about 98. He also has a very elite curveball that's about 80 miles an hour that has hard snapping action to it. Also throws a slider, and then his other really elite pitch is his changeup. I mean, a lot of guys you're happy if they have one out pitch. He's got three that are legit out pitches, and his slider is also pretty good. So, um, you're talking about a guy that is like top of the scale when it comes to just raw stuff. Now, the other positive to him, and this is where he fits really well in San Francisco, is he doesn't give up a ton of home runs, at least especially the last few years being in San Diego in a more pitcher-friendly environment as opposed to early on in his career in Tampa Bay. He doesn't give up a ton of home runs, and he's a ground ball heavy pitcher. So in his career, his averages for batted balls that he's surrendered, he has a career 41.7 ground ball percentage versus a 36.7% fly ball. So he gets more ground balls than fly balls. And we're looking at a defense in San Francisco that very likely is going to have Matt Chapman, Nick Ahmed, and Tyro Estrada, who are all potential Gold Glove winners / finalists in the infield, on top of throwing to Patrick Bailey, who is still most likely going to be the starter. Um, who is like 100th percentile in pitch framing. So there are a lot of things to like for Blake Snell, and there's a lot of things that work in his favor. And it makes sense that he would have came to San Francisco. I think this was easily the most logical destination for him. Um, Factoring in the ballpark, the defense behind him, the familiarity with Bob Melvin. Brian Price was an advisor in San Diego. He wasn't their pitching coach, but there should be at least some level of familiarity there. I think this is an environment that's going to do what it can to get him, the most innings potentially out of him. So he can demonstrate some of that consistency that I think teams have concerns with him. And also, if he does opt out after that 1 year, the Giants won't be able to slap a qualifying offer on him. So easier for him to go get that longer term deal that he might be looking for next season as a 32-year-old if he can replicate what he did last season. So a lot of reasons to like coming here. Now some of the drawbacks with him, and these are the main reasons why I was not high on giving him a long-term deal. I love it on a short-term deal, but I was not big on giving him a big long contract. And that's number one, the walks. Very concerning. This is a guy that walked 13% of the hitters he faced last season. 2 years ago, he faced, or I guess it was 3 years ago, he walked 12 and a half. And basically every year other than that, it's over 9%. Um, Now, impressively, he only allowed 12% of those people that he walked to score, which is an insane percentage. So there is some concern with consistency out of him. You look at his career, he's also not been always the most durable guy. He's only made more than 24 starts 3 times. He's only made more than 30 starts 2 times. There's concerns with innings. He's only cleared 180 innings 2 times in 7 years. He's had 3 years with over a 4 ERA. So, my thing with Blake Snell is any given year, you can get anything from a 1 to a 4 starter out of the guy. So the consistency with him has not always been there, but I do think he's going to be set up to be as successful as possible. Now, with him signing this late, does that impact opening day, like whether or not he'll be available in the rotation come opening day? You think obviously Logan Webb's probably going to be the opening day starter. Maybe they're going to push him back to like the fourth game or fifth game and try and give him a little extra time. He did throw a 4 inning simulation a few days ago in Seattle, where he is from. So, I'd imagine they get him into 1 or 2 Cactus League games or preseason games and try and get him into, building up the game action. And, it's one thing to throw 75 pitches off a bullpen mound. It's another to do it in a game with stress. So we'll see kind of where he's at pitch count wise. Hopefully he's at least up to like around 80 pitches or so when the season gets going, so that he can at least try and get them 4 or 5 innings in the early parts. But I don't really have concerns about him beyond like the first week or two of the season. I think he'll be just fine. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. The now that where this leaves the Giants. Well, the first thing to keep in mind is going to be where they are as far as payroll goes. Now, depending on the site you use, Spot Track has them at uh, about just over 233 million. So it actually has them under the competitive balance tax still. Uh, Fangraphs I tend to find to be a little more reliable. They actually have them at 256.4 million. So they have them like just a scotch under the second threshold, and about $20 million almost over the competitive balance tax. So it's just something to be mindful of. I don't think they're going to be able to navigate their way back under that. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to move enough people to get back under that. That would require them to probably move 2 outfielders to get under. So I just don't see that happening. If that is accurate, it's hard to know which one is 100% accurate. So, or if either of them are, but the other thing to keep in mind is because he did have a qualifying offer attached to him, they are going to lose their third round draft pick. Um, they already lost their second round draft pick with the pick of, or with the signing of Matt Chapman. They will also lose $500,000 in international bonus money because of the qualifying offer attached to him. So now they've lost $1 million in international money. It's something to keep in mind because right now they are expected to sign either the top guy or one of the top guys, depending on where he falls in the rankings, in Joshua Gonzalez. Um, I don't think this is going to impact their ability to sign him. I think they'll still be able to sign him, but it will likely impact how many, you know, just how many free agents they can get into that international class. So they might lose some of the depth of that class. But again, it's just something to be mindful of. Now, with the draft picks, they also go into the competitive balance tax. Because they're in the competitive balance tax, something to keep in mind is if they do sign a qualifying offer player next season, they will lose their second highest draft pick as well as their fifth highest draft pick. So it does have an impact on that as well, where if I don't know which all players are going to get the qualifying offer after the season. Obviously, there's the obvious candidates like Corbin Burns and Juan Soto. I don't know if like Ha-Seong Kim might get it. He's a guy that I'd really like to see them try and sign, and it would make a ton of sense in this on this team next offseason. But that is something to keep in mind, as well as if they're in the competitive balance tax and then they sign someone, it's actually $1 million in international money just for signing one player. And a second player, you're going to lose your third and sixth. So it's just things like that to keep in mind. Like they can lose a ton of draft picks in the 2025 draft, signing qualifying offer players next offseason because they are in the tax this offseason. So something to keep in mind. Um, Outside of that, I think this is really going to cement them as a wild card team. Like they should be a favorite to be one of the wild card teams. I said on one of previous episodes, I think this moves the goalpost for them to really chasing like the fourth or fifth seed. I hopefully they can chase after the four. There's a lot of flawed teams in the NL. There are some good ones. Arizona obviously won the pennant. Philadelphia's been pretty good for a while, but I see this as a team that can, will hopefully be able to pitch, play defense, keep themselves in a lot of games, and most importantly, not beat themselves, which they have done so much of the last couple of years with poor defense. So they have that. The offense looks a little bit improved. We'll see kind of how the season goes, but this really looks like a very strong playoff contender and wild card contender. And then once you get there, you never know what's going to happen. They can match up with anybody. So that's kind of where I see them falling. As always, if you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the support from everyone. I'll probably have more takes on this uh, in the next day or two. We'll be coming out with more things, but this is just kind of my immediate thoughts and reaction to this signing. So hope you guys all have a good Monday night, and we will talk to you soon.